Hello everybody, Lucas Haneman here, and welcome to this week's episode of Guitar Tone Tuesday. Today's episode is a very non-scientific talk about lumber and builders, and how much the builder truly makes a difference in the sound of a finished guitar. Today we have two guitars that have ostensibly the same woods on them. They both have Adirondack spruce tops. They both have East Indian rosewood back and sides. They both have ebony boards and bridges, mahogany necks. But they're both made by two different Canadian builders. A couple weeks ago on this show we talked about a Boucher Studio Goose OM, which had a torrified Adirondack spruce top. Now this guitar, this is a Peggy White Premier. It has a non-torrified Adirondack spruce top. This is my personal guitar. We're going to be comparing this thing against the Boucher. Now, this is not exactly an OM, but it's Peggy's take on a guitar that's kind of around that size. In fact, I believe when she built me this guitar, she kind of made it right in between the size of her Premier, which is her biggest guitar, and the OM, which is the second biggest guitar. But it's got the curvy waist like an OM, right? Now, this guitar in particular, it's lovely sounding. It's one thing I've loved always about this guitar. It's just a couple years old now. One thing I've loved about this guitar in particular is how even the sound is from string to string. Like if I pick up a pick and if I play the low strings and I go up to the high strings, I love how even the low strings are and the high strings. Like it doesn't have a bass that overwhelms the treble like some guitars. And I also like the fatness of those upper strings too. You really get a nice kind of warm fat sound from those upper strings. If I lay into it a little harder, without talking very much, I'm just going to switch over to that Boucher, the OM, and we're going to listen to that guitar and check out how it sounds. Similar playing to what I just did on the Premier. Okay, by Peggy White. Let's check this one out. let's move around this neck. Let's go back to the Premier by Peggy White and do something similar and see how it sounds as well. Okay. So what I can hear, to me, is that both guitars sound absolutely fantastic. They're both extremely different from each other. The Boucher has a nice kind of open vintage sound. It has a lot of low end for its size. This guitar, on the other hand, at least behind the guitar, it has a little bit less low end, but it has a more refined kind of modern sound. Where there's a bit more separation between the notes. And there's a couple reasons for that. This guitar actually has what we call a wedge design. So on this side of the guitar, it's fairly thin here, where you put your arm. Whereas on this side of the guitar, you can see that? It's thicker. So it's kind of like a slice of pizza, kind of going like thicker to thinner over here. That's kind of special and unique. The other thing about this guitar, even though, again, they have the same scale length, they have the same lumber, the other thing that's different about this guitar is that it has laminated sides, which is something that a lot of the Premier builders are doing now, where they actually take like 2 pieces of rosewood. They're a little thinner than a standard side, and then they glue them together. And what that does is it makes your guitar more stable. It makes it super strong. And the theory here is that what really counts is the soundboard resonating and then the back resonating. And so it's kind of like they're making the guitar a little bit more like a drum. And as a result, you can hear these sides don't have like a typical resonance of like a normal non-laminated side guitar. But the back and the front do. And what that does to my ear is it makes the guitar have a little bit less of those overtones dancing around. Like this guitar to me doesn't have the typical Adirondack and East Indian rosewood sound. It's a little drier. Right? So you still get that nice rich sound of rosewood, but with kind of more controlled overtones. When I play these more dense chords. Especially something like this. let's do something similar on the Boucher before we sign off, okay? 1 second here. I just want to do this carefully because I'm dealing with two very, shall we say, expensive guitars here today. So I want to be careful and make sure that they're both safe. Okay, so Boucher, same kind of idea. Oh, sorry, just a second. So on this guitar, I love it. I hear it's more of a waterfall of notes kind of cascading over one another. That's what I hear anyways behind the guitar. With its more traditional build, it's also noticeably lighter in weight to the Peggy White guitar. I think that's the laminated sides. Most guitars with laminated sides are a little heavier than non-laminated sides. So anyways, I just wanted to kind of do this today because it's an interesting discussion, right? Like, we're dealing with two guitars probably right around the same price point as each other. This one does not belong to me. This belongs to my friend Diane. The Premier by Peggy White belongs to me, and I love it. But they're both just such different instruments. The Premier has a bigger, thicker, chunkier kind of C-shaped neck. This one has a slender V-shaped neck. Yeah, they couldn't be more different to each other, to my ear. So the whole point really is just to say that, in my opinion, it's all about the builder that you get the guitar from. You know, each builder has its own sound, more so than the lumber, I would say, when it comes to acoustic guitars. So this is why it's important when you buy a guitar, you know, try all the guitars you can with whatever wood combination, and just find the one that speaks to you. Don't worry so much about the lumber. More think about the sound that you want to create. You know, are you going to be recording? If so, maybe you want a little less overtones. Are you going to be playing live? You know, maybe you want a louder guitar. It's just something to consider. So I just wanted to spark some discussion in the comment section below. Which guitar did you guys feel that you preferred among these two, even though they have the same lumbers as each other? Let's check it out. Okay, guys, let me know. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and we'll see everybody again on next week's episode of Guitar Tone Tuesday. Bye-bye.